People all around Canada are losing their shirts on pre-construction condo investments. And if you're thinking about buying one in 2025, then you have to watch this video. Otherwise, you risk losing tens of thousands of dollars or potentially every single thing that you own. I've sold close to 100 pre-construction condos myself, and I can tell you it can be a very risky investment if done the wrong way. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to buy a pre-construction condo the safe way that also maximizes ROI. So first things first, why are people losing so much money on pre-sale condos? Well, I think the obvious thing here is that they were bought at peak prices. They were purchased at the peak in 2022 to late 2021. Interest rates went up 5%, rent came down, the cost to borrow on that mortgage, which is also a much bigger mortgage than it would be today, has inflated to ridiculous highs. Now they're closing on these properties in a lot of the times negative equity, and on top of that, it's cash flow negative $1,500 a month. Or in the worst case, the price of that home has come down so much that when the appraisal comes out that the lender does on the unit before they fund it, that appraisal is coming in so low that they can't even secure a mortgage to then close on these projects, therefore basically forfeiting their entire deposit and possibly getting sued by the developer. So pre-construction condo buyers in the last 2-3 years have basically had every single thing thrown at them, including the kitchen sink. Now, the second reason why people are losing money on pre-construction condo investments is that they're purchasing bad floor plans. You are going to want to stay away from pretty much 70% of the floor plans in any pre-construction condo project. Me personally, in any project, there's usually 2 to 4 good floor plans in any given project. And listen, I've made the mistake of selling people a unit with a bad floor plan, and I've later regretted selling that person that floor plan. And most realtors won't publicly admit this, but I'm smart enough to realize that I did in fact make a mistake by doing that. And as Einstein famously said, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. That is a mistake that I will not be making again. Or at the very least, if you want to buy a bad unit, I'm going to tell you it's a bad unit. That way it's on you. Unfortunately, it's probably still going to be my problem 3 years from now, but at least I can sleep at night. The problem with these floor plans is that there's no exit liquidity for them. Nobody wants them. In 3 years, once they're finished, they're built, you can actually walk into the unit and take a look at the space. A lot of times they don't make sense functionality-wise. Where your couch sits doesn't make sense. The TV placement is weird. The bedroom is funky. You can barely fit a bed and a dresser in there. The closet's off. They just don't make sense. And there's a lot of wasted floor space as well. So to keep this super simple, I like 1 bedrooms that are 500 square feet or bigger. I like 2 bedrooms that are 800 square feet or bigger. A 1-bed and den or junior 2-bedroom can be advisable, again, if the floor plan makes sense. What I don't want to see is a 1-bed and den that's so small the den is basically a glorified closet, because that is how the new buyer is exactly going to treat it 3 years from now once it's finished being built. Stay away from 2-bed and dens, stay away from elbow floor plans, stay away from 1-bed and den with 2 washrooms or any of these weird kind of floor plans. Just keep it simple. 1 bedroom, a 1-bed and den that's a big enough size where the den makes sense, or a 2-bedroom. And then on top of that, I don't know who's out there saying that price per square foot is like the end all be all for pre-construction condos. It is there as a guide and indicator of, how expensive a project is on a zoom out basis, but don't make decisions based on solely this. I can promise you 4 years from now when this project's built, let's just say you have a unit that's 550 square feet and there's one down the street at 520 square feet. I can promise you that the buyer of these units is not going to make a decision based on 30 square feet. They're going to make a decision based on, does it have parking? Does it have storage? Does it have AC? Which direction is it facing? What floor is it on? What is the location? Who built it? Pretty much everything but that 30 square feet is going to come into question before that 30 square feet. So you could be buying a unit that is a better price per square foot. Let's just say it's 50 square feet bigger and the price per square feet is better. But the next buyer who buys the condo from you 3 years from now is probably not going to care that this unit is 25 square feet bigger than the other one across the street. So what is important when you're buying a pre-construction condo is A, the functionality of the condo floor plan itself. Does it have AC? What level of finishing is inside the condo? Who's the developer? Does it have parking? Does it have storage? How big is the storage locker? What is the location of this building? What is the exposure? Is it south? Is it east? Is it west? How much sun does it get? Does it get any sun at all? What floor is it located on? Is it a busy street or not? All of these things are important when you're buying a pre-construction condo. But again, first and foremost, even before all of that, again, comes down to the floor plan. Next, what is different today from when everyone who bought these pre-construction condos who are now losing their shirts is the fact that the circumstances are a lot different. I personally believe the downside risk if you buy a pre-sale condo today is much less apparent than it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago. We are now going into an environment where prices are already down 5, 10, 15, 20%, and interest rates are projected to be quite a bit lower, already down 175 basis points. And then on top of that, when you actually look at the scheduled completions, how many homes are going to be finished being built? 2027, there's barely anything. 2028, there's pretty much nothing. So even if we do see prices come down in 2025 or 2026, well, it's very likely that they may have recovered by the time your unit completes, or at the very least be halfway through a recovery, or at least starting to recover, or possibly be even higher, because as we get into 2027, 2028, we are likely going to have another supply crunch because there's no new product being built. And then on top of that, it's a lot more likely that you're going to be securing a lower interest rate than it is that you'll be getting a higher interest rate, which wasn't the case 3 years ago when interest rates were 0.25%. And then the next thing that you're going to want to do is get a firm approval. This is the biggest, most safest thing you can do when buying a pre-construction condo. There are a couple lenders out there. I know RBC is one of them. That's usually who I work with, but don't take my word for it. Do your own research. They will give you a firm approval sometimes as far out as 48 months. So the biggest risk, as I talked about in the beginning of this video, is you buy a pre-sale for 500 grand that's worth 450 3 years from now. The bank is going to do an appraisal. If it comes out at 450, they're going to lend you 80% of 450, and you're going to bring 20% of 450, meaning you're going to get a 90 grand down payment, and then the lender is going to lend you 390,000, whatever it is, but you still owe the developer 500. And because the bank isn't going to lend on that, you have to bring an additional 50 grand to closing. So you actually need 140 grand to close instead of 100K, which would have been 20% of 500 grand. Now you need an extra 40 grand to close. And if you don't have that money and you can't get it, well, you can't complete, you lose your deposit, possibly get sued by the developer. What these lenders will do is they'll say, hey, today we approve you for this purchase of this pre-sale unit. The appraisal comes in now. Again, do your own research. The appraisal comes in now. And for the luxury of holding this appraisal for 3 years, 4 years, whatever it is, we are going to approve you at a higher than market interest rate. Let's say rates are 4.5. We're going to approve you at 5.5. The beautiful thing about this approval is you don't actually need to use it. It's just there as a safety net. 3 years out, let's say prices are higher, interest rates are 3%. Just get a reapproval and close with the new approval of a 3% interest rate. But in the worst case, the world explodes, your unit drops 20%, interest rates are 15%. You have that approval set in place that you can use in the worst case scenario. It is a safety net that I recommend every single person get who's buying a pre-construction condo. Now, if you're interested in buying one of these in 2025, this is what I know best. You can book a call with me using the link in the description. I'm that Agent Kelly. I'm making moves to move you. Peace.